All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, and in our live streams and in the comment sections of a lot of our videos, people have been asking how they're going to get their stimulus checks. How are we going to get the Corona money that's part of that multi-trillion dollar package that is coming out in order to hopefully curb some of the economic impact of coronavirus? Now, it's a really good question. How are you going to get the cash? Many of us that remember the last time a big stimulus happened and people sent out checks, it was during the Bush administration. It was a relatively slow process that took up to 10 weeks in order to get a printed check in the mail, and it doesn't look like that's exactly how this is going to go down. Seems like it's going to be a lot more a lot more efficient. And there's even some private companies that have stepped up over the past 3 or 4 days, hoping to get in on the action, if you know what I'm saying, to hopefully get to people that might have difficulties getting cash because the system right now, at least, is heavily reliant upon those who've already had large tax returns. About the 92 or so million people of the 330 million that we have in the United States of America that use direct deposit off of their IRS tax returns. So anyway, before I go any further, we're going to discuss all of the details so you know how to get your money. So Cody, tell us what's going on.
And just as you were speaking, one thing I wanted to pull up, just some quick details about that Bush stimulus. I think it'd be interesting to just touch on for a second here.
Okay.
Because they didn't mention we're going to go through the speed and how you can get your coronavirus stimulus as soon as possible, because that was one of the issues that they did run into with the George Bush stimulus. So by the time the checks arrived in taxpayers' hands, it was late summer and it was too late to affect the first half of the year, and it was also too late to prevent the recession by that time. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Remember when those were things?
Yeah.
Had basically, the damage had been done. It was too late to fix it. So,
and I remember he was in hot water for the comment saying, now go do your civic duty and go shopping.
Yeah.
And people perceived that as like pretty callous and like it was just not a good soundbite for Bush back in those days. Whereas now the soundbite is like, do your duty and pay your mortgage and buy groceries, which sounds a lot better as a response to a crisis if we're going to involve a stimulus,
Crises. I just thought it was interesting, though, as you mentioned that.
Crises.
Yeah. I like crises better. It's the word I prefer. No, but as you pointed to, that did happen. Isn't that kind of, think about it this way. 12 years, twice the federal government's had to issue checks straight to Americans as a stimulus. Worth noting.
Yeah, it's almost like prophecies in the Bible about the year of Jubilee and the forgiveness of debts and the cyclical nature of money. It's almost like those are coming true. You know what I'm saying?
Both of these things, while it is obviously any money's better than no money, that's for sure, right? But these both, I'm afraid this one may be, and the Bush one proved to be, they're kind of like quarter measures. They're how the government solves the problem. We got a big problem. It requires a big solution. Well, we're going to politic and negotiate. And it's going to, anyway, sorry. Hold on, Card. I want you to go over some.
I was going to say, I'm going to go over the details of how you go and get your money.
Exactly.
All right. So anyway, let's just start out with a headline. This is from CNN Politics. All right. It's one of the few decent articles I've read from them recently. So I had to do it. Cody. Anyway, so the U.S. government will be preparing to send out direct payments, all right, to help individuals amid the coronavirus pandemic, but those who need the money most may be waiting the longest to see it. We're going to talk about some of you, our audience members, who've had some of these concerns, okay? The first payments are going to go out within the next 3 weeks, and they'll most likely, as we suggested in our live stream 2 live streams ago, most likely go to those for who the IRS already has direct deposit information on file. Me and my wife, we do direct deposit from both the Franchise Tax Board of California and the Fed. So our information is already in their system. We're part of those 92 million people whose information is already in their system, so we would receive a direct deposit, okay? So it's unclear how long it will take to get the money to everyone else, says CNN, but experts say it could take weeks, even months. I find this a little bit apocalyptic, and I'm going to explain to you why I don't think that's a fair statement. But anyway, previous stimulus payments in 2001 and 2008 have been delivered both by direct deposit and checks in the mail, but mobile payment services like Venmo want to play a role this time, and that's why I don't think it's going to take so long. Part of the reason why they're worried it's going to take so long, and you'll read further down in this article, is because about only 30% of people that log on onto the IRS's website for the very first time successfully get in. And the reason why is because you need to have multiple forms of identification. Okay, the address on your driver's license has to match up with the address on your mortgage if you want to buy a gun, and with the IRS you have to also show secondary authentication like a cell phone bill, a utility bill, or a mortgage image that matches your address information and your name. And there's some people that have problems where if my name is Michael Douglas Jr. and on my cell phone bill it says Michael Douglas, that may not be the same person. And so there's all kinds of people that for some kind of strange snafu, like maybe my credit card bill shows an address from an apartment I used to have my correspondence mailed to my accountant previously or something. So some people aren't already in the system. And only 30% of those people that try and get into that system successfully do so the first time because they've got some kind of administrative or paperwork issue that needs to get handled. And sometimes that's prohibitive. Like Cody wanted to go, get some services that required multiple forms of identification. But what do? You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, it's just
if you don't have a utility bill in your name because it's the apartment building you live in.
What bothers me larger is this. What bothers me is with this we're seeing it too. This sense that it's like, at what point, which one of the government issued things that allegedly the government recognizes is enough?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be seemingly it's like, hey, look, we just need to make sure that every time it feels like I'm coming to the government, like, please, Mr. Government, I swear, I have a passport, I have an ID, I pay bills, I have a mortgage,
Well, I have a friend.
Is your name spelt different? It's like, dude, this is ridiculous. Is my passport not enough? This is enough for me to travel freely along the entire country. I can come in and go as I please. It's not enough to prove I don't know. It just
you at least have a passport.
It seems like they never get to it, but it just frustrates me how they will ask for. It's like, why do I need to give you all of this? What is what you need? And the government, it feels like every few years will just pile on. Now we need X, Y, and Z. Do you have a verified face? Have you tied your Facebook account to your Social Security at Citizen? I feel like it's what we're getting towards, and it's crazy. It's like, I have a passport. I'm a citizen of this country. I have a bank account. You direct deposit money before, and they're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, but also it's a minority
of
of Americans that even have a passport. You're actually in the minority if you have a passport in America.
Hey, you know why? You want to know why?
I think a passport should be valid, but like what I'm
seemingly they don't matter. They'll say that's nice, but we need 50 other things from you. It's like, yeah, why bother having one if it doesn't do you any good? I don't know. Yeah. It bothers me. It does bother me. Obviously it does bother me.
Yeah. I think though that this will disproportionately impact millennials because I have a friend, for example, that lives with his wife and his new baby in a beautiful guest house that's literally the size of a starter home, you know what I'm saying, on his parents' property. And it's a great existence. He's starting his family and he's in the guest house and he's actually further away from his mother and father's house on their property in this guest house than I am from my neighbor here. You know what I'm saying? In a regular suburban community.
But even if you have these things, why do they make you provide it?
Well, hold on. He's getting a little bit stubbed on this because with no passport, his address, he doesn't actually have a utility bill because as a guest house, the utility bill comes to his parents' house and he just hands them cash. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have a utility bill in his name. He doesn't have anything in his name except for a cell phone record. And you better hope that email those paperless cell phone statements, or you have the last copy of your papered statements and you didn't just throw it away because you don't want to have to wait for a month to have a cell phone bill that proves that you live at this address.
But in
Do
general,
you know what I'm saying?
Even if I had anyone had literally all 45 documents that needed to be signed and notarized for the government. Baloney. It's ridiculous. Why do they every single time?
I think it's trying to weed out people who might have deceased and are getting.
I understand that there's obviously a reason, but it starts to get frustrating to me when it's like, okay, 3 forms of government identification, and they say not enough. Okay, multiple bills I pay, and they go not enough. It's like, what do you? But
are you suggesting that hyper-regulation is slowing down the system? And services
like I said, dude, it's getting pretty close to. Have you attached your Social Security to you? Like, how come my Social Security cards aren't good enough for these people anymore? Here's my Social Security number, my government-issued passport, and they say get out of here. It's nonsense. Like, why do I have to? Here's the other thing too. Why do I have to turn over all of this stuff to the government? I just don't understand why I have to turn over all this stuff to them. And here you go, look at it.
Well, don't worry. They're not storing it in that massive terabyte facility.
It's insane to me.
The NSA is not keeping your social and your passport and your credit card and your bank account number.
We got a little sidetracked on that, but it's insane to me that they're like, because we can get into all kinds of individual, like, who cares about the individual cases? It's just the fact that it's like this goes to the problem with means testing anything. This isn't really means testing, but that's just what means testing looks like. Oh,
Yeah.
I need this thing to help me. Well, do you have X, Y, and Z signed and notarized by the proper authorities?
Well,
no.
look, nothing's requiring notarization. Let's finish going through
exactly.
the details.
I don't want to get too hyperbolic, but I don't know. I just not specific to this, but in general, when the government says they want to help you, and then you go to apply for the help, and what they actually are saying is you better have all 40 of your ducks in a row, or we're gonna nail you. It gets really grating when it's like that every single time.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm also sending you another link that I forgot to send you earlier, Cody. I'm putting it on Discord. There's going to be actually an app, and it looks like it's going to be better than the DNC's app that helped us all out in the caucuses in Iowa back when we used to talk about politics and not coronavirus. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, there's going to be an app, okay, that helps people whose information is not on file. But by and large, the IRS is going to use your 2019 tax return if you have filed it. And if not, they'll use your 2018 return to calculate the amount of your payment. And people like me, for example, I haven't filed my 2019 because with different S corps and LLCs and whatever, those all have to do their own like K1s and different types of tax returns before, and you use those for your personal. So unlike people who just simply have a paycheck from a company who they get that paycheck every 2 weeks or every month, and they get their one little tax statement at the end of the year. That's their one income, their one job, and they just need to use like a 1040 EZ, I think is the name of the document you can just fill out yourself on TurboTax. Most of those people probably already have their 2019s in, but those who don't, who have just their 2018s, most people have the 2019 tax returns in already, but for those who don't, they're just going to use your 2018. And it's mostly not, yes, they do have to know how much money you made, okay, because there is a point in which they phase out the stimulus. If you make more than $99,000 a year, they phase you out. And if you make over $75,000 a year, they start phasing you out, or else you get less money. But more than anything, it's actually meant to figure out how many children are in your home and how many dependents you have, because you have to declare on your tax return how many dependents you have, because you get a certain amount of tax deductions for every dependent. And that has to do with how much money they're going to pay you. Why? Because the numbers are final. We've heard all kinds of numbers floated around, but individuals are due up to $1,200 and couples will receive $2,400 plus $500 per child. So if I have 2 children and I have my wife, Brittany the Shadow, it would be $2,400 plus an extra $1,000 per child, yielding $3,400 stimulus. Okay. But as I said before, they start phasing out for individuals with incomes over $75K and phase out completely for those above $100K. And they're reduced by $5 for every $100 you make over $75,000. So if you're making $80,000, for example.
Made when though?
In your last tax return.
2018 or 19?
Whichever one you filed last. Okay. So if you only have a 2018, then they're just going off your 2018.
But what if, I don't know, again, I'm not going to get into the politics of it.
So anyway, direct deposits will go out automatically. And this is interesting. The IRS says that payments will go out automatically to those who's authorized a direct deposit for their refunds in their latest tax return. And the money will be deposited directly into the same bank account, and the taxpayer doesn't have to take any action to receive it. So those people just boom. If you've been a responsible citizen and have been doing your tax returns and so on and so forth, you're already taken care of. That money will literally just show up. And it's probably all going to show up on the same day. And that will be the first big wave of the stimulus. And if you think about it, that's the most important wave. Because most likely, if you're a responsible adult who's regularly filing tax returns,
hold on.
You're probably the breadwinner, and you are probably the mortgage payer, and you're probably the rent payer, which are some of the biggest things that we're worried about getting hit.
But there's a lot of people, though, that just don't need to file taxes. It's not like they don't because they're like,
and they're living below the poverty line.
Taxes, schmaxes, they just don't need to file them.
Well, think about it. People living below the poverty line that are probably receiving Section 8 housing or living with their parents,
I don't know, but
don't have to worry about these mortgages. They don't have to worry about the rent on their building.
That's such a crazy thing to say. That just like there's people that are so poor they don't need money. What?
No, I didn't say they don't need money. I'm saying that
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying
if this is a stimulus
it's
meant
not perfect.
Okay, I'm not saying it is perfect, but I'm saying if this is a stimulus that is meant to curb the worst effects of an economy that has been postponed a month, The people you want to get the money to first are the people that are the business owners, the mortgage payers, the rent keeper-uppers, the utility payers. And those are most likely the people that use direct deposit for tax returns because they have been filing tax returns. Okay? You're not so worried about your gamer 12-year-old. Okay? You're more worried about the dad in the family than the gamer 12-year-old.
Okay. But
or the college student. Let's say the 21-year-old college student
how about just people,
is not important.
How about just older people that that have some? I'm just saying there is a large portion of people that get left out of this again because they're insisting on having these bizarre hoops and loops to jump through. Again, it's you come to the government and you get down on your knees and you beg and plead and you say, "Mr. Government, please, I have given you everything I can."
This is a little bit different.
How else? Get left out.
Okay. Yeah, but how else is the government supposed to even know who these people are or how to give them money? They don't have a centralized list that tracks every single citizen. That's unconstitutional.
I'm saying you can't.
So what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we're going to...
can't apply with it. I agree. Look, there's impossible to make sure everyone gets what they need. But I'm saying is how about you just start with people that have some form of government ID can apply through the government with their ID? Can we just start there?
Okay, but how do we know that, for example, the $500, let's just say you were 4 years younger. You were a 23-year-old. Okay. And you were living with your mother and she was declaring you as a dependent. What's to keep you from going and collecting $1,200 yourself when your mother has already been issued $500 for you?
Nothing. But
the abuses that could happen would be astronomical.
As far as I understood, money entitled to me by the federal government for being over the age of 18 is still money entitled to me by the federal government being I don't understand this notion that it's this money's actually not entitled to everyone. It's being specifically distributed to certain people. I don't like that notion.
I think it would be fair.
That's not a good idea. Because here's the thing. Is it up for the federal government to tell us who actually needs money to survive right now? Actually, you don't.
No, but
you are
fair.
Less important. You go to the end of the line. I don't like that notion.
No. It's not saying you are less important, but for example, we have to verify some basic things such as age and residency. If we're trying to track, for example, to make sure that everybody above the age of 18 is getting $1,200, while if you're below the age of 18, you're getting $500, then we need to know some basic things that do show up on ID. Okay. Now, this is where, for example, I think a lot of people balked when Social Security numbers were issued. Literally back in the 30s when they invented Social Security, there were people that were saying it was the number of the beast and this is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy and the world's going down the tubes. But right now, that's actually looking like a useful system in which just a simple basic that you're a U.S. citizen born on this date and this is your Social Security number. I think that would be a fair system. If there was a way to upload and register it, if you could just prove that you were you with a government issued ID that was verifiable, then I think you're right. These regulations cannot be onerous. So Cody is right. If the regulation gets onerous, people will not receive the goods and services they need. A lot of people have been concerned about how long it would take to get their refunds. Okay. We know that the direct deposits are going to cover a lot of people. CNN here continues to report saying that should cover a lot of people. Last year, about 92 million received refunds via direct deposit. That represents about 82% of people who receive refunds and nearly 60% of all tax filers. So the majority, not the vast majority, but a solid majority will be covered with the direct deposit program. But a couple of, tax experts have expressed some concerns. They continue to say, quote, I think it's reasonable to think people can get those payments within 3 weeks, says Nicole Kading, an economist with the National Taxpayers Union Foundation. And a lot of people have wondered, is that fast enough? And I think this is where apps like Venmo and Cash App, which generally aren't used by owners of $1 million companies to make substantial payments that are usually direct deposited, but used by smaller budgeted consumers that may be part of that 70% that finds it difficult to log into the IRS's tax system. I think this is where they could step up and possibly do a good job of providing information, at least banking information of other people who may not show up in the IRS tax system, but we know they exist because of Social Security information. So anyway, who will have to take action? People that have not filed the return for either 2018 or 2019. Because that's the two tax returns they're going off of. And if you haven't done that, IRS urges you to do it really quickly. And so anyway, even those who don't normally need to file a tax return may have to in order to receive their payment That includes individuals who earn less than $12,200, which is the current poverty line, okay, in 2019, and couples who earn double that, two people. It's $24,400, as well as some seniors, oftentimes seniors that are living on, fixed incomes in homes that are already paid off and they don't have an income, fall really far behind on the tax returns because they don't have income to worry about income tax with, and they're paying all of their consumption taxes through sales tax and property tax and so on and so forth. So anyway, the IRS said it will give further guidance here for those who need help to file a return. All right. So anyway, what about people that don't have an electronic way of getting it? You're going to get your check in the mail. All right. And this is where some people worry. During the Bush years, do you remember getting your check, Cody? Did you get one?
I was too young during the Bush years.
Oh, yeah, you were too young. I remember getting mine.
Hey, by the way, you shouldn't have got yours during the Bush years. You should have gone to the end of the line. Who are you? Why were you taking money? What home mortgage were you paying to Fannie Mae in 2008?
I was in college.
Huh? Yeah, why did some bum like you get the money?
Yeah.
See, you should have to pay back your check, dude.
Are you? Hey, man, look. I'll take the 1,200 over the 600.
What kind of shame did you feel depositing that check? That poor homeowner on his mortgage. He could have been using this check, and I took it from him. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, I was so typical, dude, and I just paid down some credit card debt.
That's what everyone
like
did.
As
far as I understand.
I think it was like I'm making up the stat, but I remember reading news articles where people said, dude, this was a bailout of the credit card companies because the vast majority of people just paid down credit card debt instead of actually going out and driving consumer spending like Bush had suggested people do.
And this one would be a little unique to that because there's a lot of people who are like legitimately like, I have a rent and grocery bills coming up to pay that. Like, I just can't. Like, I need that's why I think the time might be more sensitive now than ever.
Yeah. So anyway, the government's tossing around an online fix. They're suggesting a website that's coming up, quote, in the coming weeks, according to Steve Mnuchin, in which people can upload their banking information. Dude, if it's anything like the website for the rollout of Obamacare, good luck.
How about this?
I don't think paper
remember
checks.
The Google website? The government told us the Google website they're making so you can get tested.
Okay.
Remember, they're working with Google to make this web portal so people can find out how to get tested and where and if they need to. I think it's live in a few counties in California.
Yeah.
So
So I don't,
and it doesn't work that well. So maybe in a few weeks they'll have the ground floor ready on some kind of online website that doesn't work.
Yeah. So anyway, basically, that's how it works. You're going to get $1,200 per adult, $2,400 per couple, with $500 per kid. If you filed your 2018 or your 2019 tax return, this is going to be done automatically. You don't need to do anything. If you haven't, you need to get those filed so that you are in the system, making sure you have whatever proper documentation comes next. If you're not part of those 92 million people that will get a direct deposit, then it looks like you're going to have to receive a paper check. Some people say that might take as much as 10 weeks, but I doubt it, especially if Cash App and Venmo get involved and become kind of like the private sector heroes of this situation. Congress officially authorized this stimulus to allow checks to take up to the end of 2020. I think that was just a clause that they put in there, not because they anticipate it taking that long, but just so that nobody could sue them if some strange check didn't get to some guy's P.O. box in Kentucky somewhere. But anyway, we know that the stimulus checks did come out relatively promptly under Bush. Some people are saying it could take as much as 10 weeks, but I don't think it'll take that long, especially if the private sector steps up. Cody, do you have anything you want to say before we end the video?
I just want to point to, again, they mentioned here that 30% of people who try to register for an existing online account with the IRS are successful. 30%. You know what? That's an acceptable number in baseball for a batting average. Anything else? It's absurd, man. The rest fail the authentication test, which requires an account number of a mortgage loan or credit card, as well as a mobile phone that has the same address in the bill as your return.
Well, fortunately, since they're taking the mobile phone, most people are going to have that.
Hold on. Do you know anything? What bothers me big time, too? You notice anything in common with a mortgage, a loan, or a credit card? Anything in common with those three things you have to get this? It's absurd.
Credit.
Yeah.
You have to have credit.
I have to have credit to pay my taxes to the government? What about people who just don't have a credit card bill, they own their house
and live
cash,
responsibly,
and they don't have a loan? Yeah.
Like, no, if you own your house cash, I guarantee that you've got credit.
But what I'm saying is this, is that not that specific. My point being is, it's a little bit funny to me how the federal government needs to verify you do owe someone money before they will give you the money that allegedly we're all entitled to, I thought. I don't know, man. Stuff like that bothers. I'm saying it's not not everyone has it. It's not I'm mad because I don't have all this stuff. No, what bothers me is that it's crazy they ask for it and they demand it. It's expected. Okay. It's expected.
It's like you're not a citizen of the United States unless you have debt, and you can prove that you have debt.
And you know what the problem with the society built around consumer debt is? When the economy shuts down for 2 weeks, people start starving. Wow. So this is the money to address that. But by the way, sorry, if you can't adequately prove that you are indeed in the consumer debt economy, you don't get it. I don't know. I don't want to get, like I said, I get that there's some reasons. They mentioned that if you lower the standards, there could be identity theft reasons. You don't want people logging in to your account with stolen info. I get all that. I'm not trying to say that it's literally absurd and there's no reason. There's some reasons I understand. But what bothers me is this notion that time and time again, the federal government needs to see so many things from you. And I just feel like, why are you issuing me these things? And then the other thing that bothers me is this, the subtle implication, and not so subtle at sometimes, implication that you need to be indebted to something other than the government before the government will even verify your existence sometimes. And it does bother me. It's like, I'm not a citizen because I was born in this country and have a passport. I'm a citizen because I owe Visa $55 a month. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but that is how they, like, seriously, what if someone just paid off all their credit cards and said, I'm done with them, I canceled all my cards, don't use them anymore, so you don't have them. The government looks at you as you're harder to verify. I don't know. It's also scary that they're like, oh, if the banks got you for your house, we know who you are. We got no worries that you. I don't know. It's just that.
It's like you're not real friends until you're Facebook friends.
That's what really frustrates me.
And you're not a real citizen unless you have debt.
The utility, like the thing, like proving you pay a utility bill to prove you're a resident, like you're a more permanent resident at a place. Like, I pay the water bill here for 6 months. I obviously lived here for a while. That kind of stuff, I don't really worry about that. Like, that's not what I'm trying to get into is like absurd. It's the show me your credit card bill, show me your loan statements. It's like that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, look, like I understand the show me you've been paying for electricity in this home for 9 months to really give us an idea that like you are a long-term resident and you didn't just,
Yeah, but like for example, my buddy who's living in the guest house at his parents' place, he's not paying the electrical bill, he's not paying the gas bill, but that is his residency. So he would have to rely upon the cell phone bill. But if he's part of a family plan, his parents are paying the cell phone bill even though he's a functioning adult because he took advantage of savings of the family plan and he took advantage of the chance to live in a guest house. How else is he going to verify other than providing evidence of consumer debt that is sent to his house? How is he going to prove residency there?
But the thing is, like, it's not even.
It's a question of proving residency. I can't believe I'm defending the U.S. government. This is horrible.
But it's not even. Why do I have to prove residency in a specific location? That's what I don't understand either. It's like I don't know. I just don't. I get the point that I don't want somebody.
Well, to get your check mailed to you.
Okay, I guess you have to have a check mailed, but what if you just want to, I don't know. I get that there's logistic reasons, but I'm just saying in 2020, we have to have the technology where I can go to the federal government, do some kind of verification process. Like, why don't they just have some kind of, like...
What I suggest is that every social security number be tied...
Two-factor authentication is pretty good. Maybe they can come up with a better, more advanced version of that and then have some things in plan. I don't know.
Well, I think they should have our fingerprints in a database tied to our social security number that also registers the amount of guns that we have.
How about you... No. What they should have is have Apple just... you I mean, how come I could use Face Pay in my iPhone, but for some reason the federal government, after I've given them the passport they issued me, still scoff and say, I don't... Here's the passport and the social security number you issued me, Mr. Government. Yeah, not good enough. Get out of here.
Yeah, this is exactly how Apple could become a legendary brand if they were the ones that could convince the government that, hey, our Face Pay and Apple Pay authentication system is so rock solid, you can use it to pay stimulus bills. Everybody would be getting iPhones. Just thinking the next time there's a pandemic, I'll get my stimulus package with this. So anyway, let us know what you guys think. If any of you guys have experienced any problems or if any of you guys have had successes on any of these web-based solutions or filing your tax returns or so on and so forth, please, in the comments below, let's continue the conversation. Follow us on PSP Radio 1. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.